Hello, I'm Robin Gibson, and this is the Harvard House Money Morsel. Welcome back. Good to have you with us again. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the bell so that you receive a notification when we release a new video. I'm sitting today with Michael Porter. Hello, Michael. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Robin.
Michael, last week, Villy and I talked about the Federal Reserve and them raising rates by 25 bips, as the terminology we like to use. But our own governor absolutely surprised us all yesterday by raising by 50 bips or 0.5%. Can you tell us why we got such a surprise and what's going on?
Sure, Robin. Yeah, it really was a surprise. I mean, everybody was thinking 25 basis points, and he came up with 50. It really comes down to inflation, Robin. Since the Reserve Bank last met in January, the rand has been weaker, and inflation has come out significantly higher. So we had inflation numbers earlier in the week. The headline inflation is at 7%, but that core inflation didn't come down at all. It actually rose a little bit, I think, to 5.5%. In addition to that, the Reserve Bank has raised their own forecast for inflation for the whole year from 5.4% to 6%. Okay. Now that's at the top end of the band. So the Reserve Bank's got the band 3 to 6%. And so they see a deterioration in inflation over the course of the year. And I think that's why they basically, I suppose, in doing 50 basis points, tried to preempt things a little bit and to have a shot across the bow. We really still do feel that hopefully this is the last one, but we need to see some moderation over the next couple of months, yeah.
So you talked about a slightly weaker rand. One of the things that happened when the announcement came through was the rand absolutely screamed through the 18 to the dollar, and I think we ended trading somewhere in the 1780s. Give us some sort of idea of what this correlation between the rand and interest rates are, please, if you would mind, Michael.
So maybe first of all, it's just worth saying that interest rates, the prime rate is now at the highest level since 2008. Can you believe it? So we did have an interest rate cycle in 2017, 2018. The prime rate was below where it is now. So, I mean, listen, interest rates are pretty high by all accounts. And given the state of the economy and load shedding, it's not a great place to be in. I mean, it's definitely pressure out there. But obviously with interest rates going up more than expected, money comes flooding into the country. You're getting a good return on your cash, and the rand reacted to that. So just from a risk-adjusted point of view, South African cash is a relatively safe investment. Government bonds are relatively safe, even though the government, that's what it is. Yes. And so, money comes flooding in reaction to that. That in itself, and the rand strengthens a little bit, should bring down inflation a little bit. The rand oil price is now at the same level it was a year ago. So actually, the petrol price, and we've had no increase in taxes in petrol, remember, for sort of 18 months now. Yeah. We've had no increase in the fuel levy. So petrol inflation is essentially zero at the moment, So these things should start to moderate, and inflation should start to moderate. But it doesn't help when governments essentially settled their wage negotiations earlier in the week at 7.5%. Yeah. I know there's a bit of history in there, and we've had a couple of years with very low below inflation increases. But those kinds of things would be worrying the Reserve Bank in terms of, are people now expecting inflation to be systemically higher for longer? And that's those inflation expectations is what the Reserve Bank wants to nip in the bud. Yes. I think the really difficult thing, sorry, Robin, is that one of the reasons for higher inflation is load shedding. Yeah. Companies are really suffering massive margin pressure. All the food retailers. So, I mean, there's been some press around food prices and the Competition Commission saying that food prices are too high. Gotcha. They're not taking into account the cost of logistics, the cost of load shedding, the extra cost that retailers are having to put in to keep the supply chain, operational and all those kind of things. So they can look at the difference between producer prices and consumer prices and say, hold on, guys, you're ramping up prices, but they're not looking at the whole thing and saying, this is the cost of actually getting food on the table. Yes. And I can tell you that the food retailers are not price gouging. I mean, it's a hugely competitive industry, and they fight for every cent. So unfortunately, load shedding is actually contributing the worsening inflation. interest rates are going up, it's just putting more and more pressure on the economy,
Yes,
and it's going to accelerate. Well, I mean, we obviously know that independent power is being ramped up, but it should start to ease over the next 6 months as independent power eases up, the rand strengthens a little bit. And maybe on the rand, sorry, just to labour the point though, we always say, Robert, we talk about this frequently, that people get very antsy about the rand and they link it to what's happening here politically. But 95% of the rand's movement is what happens to the US dollar and what's happening in the US.
Yes.
Now, the US dollar is definitely weakening. I think there's an expectation in the US that rates are pretty close to peaking. We've actually seen the US dollar weakening a little bit already over the last sort of 2 to 3 weeks, and partly also the banking crisis, and that's changing expectations.
Yeah.
But our rand has essentially gone from 1860 10 days ago to 1780, and this is going to fluctuate, but that's quite a big move.
Yes.
If we start to see the dollar weakening a little bit, and our rand will strengthen, just as a consequence of that, inflation should start to come down a little bit more steadily, especially around obviously diesel costs, petrol, and all those kind of things, which would take some of the pressure off. You don't want to see wages getting out of control. That's probably what the Reserve Bank is most concerned about, is when expectations are that inflation is going to be higher, and then if all the unions are pushing for 8, 9, 10%, and people are settling there.
Yes, and of course, once that's in, it's in, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly.
Michael, thank you for giving us that colour. Thank you for joining us. Tune in again next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Goodbye.